Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC and is filled with all sorts of information and enigmatic wisdom about how to live a more reasonable life. It is the way of nature. When I talk about living a reasonable life, I'm always kind of referring to the idea that we don't ask other things to change for us, whether it's the weather, other people, other experiences. We have the experience that we're having, and we receive it openly and with the idea that this experience is telling me about myself. This experience is giving me information, especially if it elicits a strong response of some sort. We are connected to everything. And so anything that we experience is going to be talking about us, to us. Yesterday, for those of you who follow my stupid life, it is, I went to the neurologist and, looked at that active lesion that I have. And, when I went in, I talked to you about earlier in the week or last week or whatever it was. I want to make sure that I'm not making decisions on my health simply because I'm planting a flag and I'm being rigid. I like that I don't take meds. It's true. But I don't like that I'm rigid about that. I take a bunch of supplements and I never wanted to take supplements. I actually looked at my supplement shelf and I was just like, man, I never wanted to be like this. And here I am. And that's the thing. When we say something like, I don't want to do that. I remember once I was just like, I don't want to learn another language. I was in high school and I was like, I'm not going to learn a language. I'm going to take art. And I knew that was a loophole to get around taking a language. I can take art. And that actually became my career for a while. Not a language, but making art. So that, I did what I needed to do. And it really unveiled who I was. Interesting thing about taking a language is that I'm more or less fluent in Spanish now because I found out that I'm Spanish. I didn't know that when I was a kid. And when I was a kid making choices in high school, I was an addict. Or I was at least moving into becoming an addict. So it's interesting how all of these things happen, and they're all experiences that I can grow and learn from. And especially as I get older, when I'm young, I have different parts of my life developing. This is why I don't really relish or work at getting clients that are younger than 30 because they're still developing. I'll work with some of them. I'll work with some people if they really want to. But I have to always let them know that, you're developing. You have to go through things to get to where you're going to have to turn from. It doesn't have to be that you have to get to rock bottom in order to get better, right? Like in that addiction idea, they gotta get to rock bottom. It's not necessarily true. But you do have to go through what you're going to go through and grow and learn about all that you are. A lot of times when people do things when they're young, I know I got sober fairly young. But by the time I was 30, everything was kind of moving in a certain direction. It was still very hard, but it was really an important lesson to go through. Max is coming up. Hey, Max, how are you? How is the journey?
The journey is journeying.
You broke up. I can't hear you now. I did hear you say the journey is journeying, but then you went dark. I don't know if you can.
Okay, can you hear me?
I got you now.
Now, okay, I was on my headphones, so I didn't know if they were working or not. Sometimes they just...
Okay.
But the journey is journeying. I'm slowly but surely getting more privileges. So basically I got to get like some stuff approved, and then I can go outside by myself for like an hour unsupervised, as long as I'm not like a flight risk or whatever, which I'm not. So, no, things are going well.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, like actually really well. Like my doctor actually sees like, potential in my discharge, and that like she sees that every case should be individualized.
Right.
And that's a problem with this hospital, is that they want everyone to follow the same protocol. And that just doesn't work for everyone. Like not everyone's an individual, and not everyone's needs are going to be met by certain things or certain privileges. And some people that don't need certain privileges, they can go up the ladder quicker than others. You know what I mean? So,
so you're kind of, even though if a person can mature faster than their privileges can be
given,
disseminated.
Exactly.
Right.
So like I'm at a point where I'm just like, why am I walking around? So basically the first step is walking around the hospital for 30 minutes. What is the point of that? My therapist goes, to go to the cafeteria and to go to, the vending machines. I'm like, you really think I'm going to do that? I'm going to go to the cafeteria? Like, you have an eating disorder. You think I'm going to do that? So I'm going to have a talk with my doctor and just be like, that's not realistic for me. What's realistic is going for a walk outside, because I love going outside. And that's more individualized and more therapeutic for me. Being trapped in a hospital where I can only walk one hallway, really, is not therapeutic for me. That is not... Yeah.
And it's sterile and how disgusting is one's, like, I'm sorry for calling it this, but how disgusting is it to go into a commissary, right? To go into a cafeteria where they're using probably the poorest food and the poorest and the air quality is filled with crap oil and it's like, but we have healthy choices. Yeah, but you're surrounded by garbage.
Exactly. You have two healthy choices. You have salad and fruit bowls. Woo.
Right.
Like
and
surrounded by hamburgers, hot dogs, and friggin' all this other garbage.
Right. It's not. And again, to look at you and to see and to look at your case and be like, oh, isn't it going to be nice for you to go to the candy station or like
machine,
the candy machine? Yeah, like you think that's where I want to spend my time? You think I want to spend my steps that I get to have outside of the ward to go there?
Right.
What and I don't. It's just it's so frustrating to me how it's so frustrating to me how the medical industry, but our society in general, like, have no clue about the things that affect you deeply in these subtle ways. Like I know that when I eat sugar and do things like that, 3 days later I have these like moments of sadness or moments of doubt or moments of like lack of confidence and stuff. And I only eat sugar like on the rarest of rare occasions.
Me too.
And so
actually, sugar actually irritates IBS symptoms. So like bloated and like just uncomfortable after I eat sugar. So I just stay away from it.
Yeah.
And so like why am I gonna waste my time doing this when I could just be having a nice walk outside? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and of course, my choices are because of my MS, and my awareness has increased over the last 10 years because of that. My awareness of my body and how my body responds to things.
Right. Like, if this was like a year ago or 2 years ago and they said, oh yeah, you can go around the building for like 30 minutes, I would have been like, yeah, okay, woo. But now that I have insight on myself and I know what works for me and what's therapeutic for me, I'm not gonna let them run me over with this. I'm not gonna be the contrarian, but I am gonna say I'm going to advocate. I'm going to self-advocate, basically.
Absolutely. Because, and that only comes with confidence. Because when you don't have confidence and when you don't trust yourself, when you don't love yourself, you either do one of two things. Well, you either settle or you argue.
Exactly.
And those are your two options. You either submit to what they want or you try to overpower them.
Absolutely.
And the space that you're in where you're having conversations and saying, hey, does this make sense?
Right.
And then they go, oh, you know what? Maybe it would be good for you to have outside for 30 minutes. There's a park or there's a place that you can go sit and like.
Yeah. There's literally a park right across the street. I mean, we're not allowed to go there, but still, we can walk around the building, around the parking lot, go to the garden,
No, that's so beautiful.
So I don't want to spend my time inside a sterile, disgusting building that's like 80 years old. I want to be out in nature and in the air and the nice, kind of nice weather. It's not really nice here.
Anything's nicer than being inside a hospital.
It absolutely. And that's what I'm going to bring up is like, it's more therapeutic for me to be outside than inside a hospital, which I'm already
fresh air, even if it's cold, even if it's raining, those are beautiful things.
Exactly. And like, if I get cold, I can come in for a few minutes and then go back out. Like, it's simple. It's so simple.
Or like, I can just put on some gloves. Like,
exactly. Put on a hat, some gloves, a scarf, and a jacket. Boom. Yeah. You're good.
Right. And then I can be out and I can breathe that air, like in that cold air. Like, you haven't breathed cold air.
I know.
In
like
3 months.
It's actually, today marks 3 years of being inpatient. 3
years. You haven't had that cold air. There's something so nice about that.
So yeah,
let's pick a number.
Yeah, let's pick a number. I'm thinking 22. No, actually, no. 19.
Real education.
Okay.
And I don't know if we've read this one before, but
I didn't think so.
But don't aspire to be holy or smart. You will finally find happiness. Don't aspire about morality or justice. You will finally be perfect. Don't create things in order to profit. You will finally be secure. If all that fails to inspire you, stay as humble and simple as possible, and at least you won't be selfish.
Okay, that actually really, it resonates with the whole part where we were talking about arguing versus like basically submitting,
right?
And basically how if you don't like put pressure on things, like basically how it said, if you don't
aspire to be holy or smart. Don't inquire about morality or justice.
And don't aspire to profit.
Don't create things in order to profit. Right.
Yeah. So basically I'm like trying to, that part stuck out to me because like, I'm not trying to profit really. I'm trying to gain what's healthy for me and yes, it is profiting in the end, but they need to realize that my needs are not being met and at all by being here, first of all, but that's a whole other story. But just by the outside thing, like that whole thing, like if I push too hard, they're gonna push right back. Right. And they're not gonna accept my my words or my invitation to like what I have to say. So it's
what I see. So this is where words really like. So what resonated with you is don't create things in order to profit, and you'll finally be secure.
Yeah,
and the thing is that's resonating with you. But it's resonating in this way of the abstract. Right. It's like profit. The way I'm feeling these words, profit means something different. It means me alone benefiting in a greedy sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What you're experiencing right now is I'm trying to not only present something that will benefit me, but will benefit you from seeing as well.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's 100% correct. That's 100% correct. And I feel like if we can just make it just like meet in the middle somehow or something, that we'll both profit, because one, they get, their, authoritative, needs met, and I get my, privilege, which is fresh air, which is beautiful. And somehow I've just got to advocate for myself at this point, and I've been doing really well in that. And they've even said that.
And I think that once again, like, you're not creating this just to run away with something.
No,
like
I'm putting things in place.
You want to advocate for yourself.
Yes,
but you also want to advocate for this concept of individual treatment.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure they are touting in all of their literature.
Yeah.
However, when the rubber meets the road, they're saying you should go to the cafeteria. Well,
right.
I don't think that you're doing what you say you want to do by having me check all the boxes that you expect everybody to check. And that's not what we're doing. And the security that's here, right? Is gaining faith in yourself and those around you, gaining faith in you knowing what's good for you too. And when you can articulate what you want and what you think is the next step for you to them, it's not about you profiting. It is about you collaborating once again with the team that you have in front of you.
Absolutely. 100%.
And that will give you more security because they will, one, know you better.
Exactly.
And two, you will know yourself better and be able to get what you need.
Totally. 100%. Nailed it.
Yeah.
That's
a beautiful one.
That was a good one. I like that one very much.
Just stay calm as you interact with all these people, and like, your love for yourself has, multiplied so many times since we first talked.
It's very true.
And I'm so grateful for that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Susan's going to come join me. Susan is a big Max fan, as am I. And so we're gonna love on Max for a minute. Hey, Susan.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, that's my grandson who is 6'4". I come up to his armpit, so I decided I'd put this picture up. Yeah. This weekend I went to Phoenix, I think I told you, because he was being honored on the soccer field. He's the goalie, and he's a senior, and he's graduating. So it was really kind of exciting because he came out and the crowd roared, and I cried. And it was just so much fun. It was so cool. And his dad was there. I mean, my ex-husband was there. And he was very nice, really, really nice. And so that was swell. So life is good in the hood here.
I'm so glad to hear that. Life is easy. Life
is so easy, Martin. John, it's getting easier all the time.
I know.
The older I get, the easier it gets.
Once you start this path of like really knowing and trusting and loving yourself, like you see how all that influence that we lived under for so long made us make things harder than they had to be.
Oh, it was exhausting. It was exhausting. Life was exhausting.
When we're under the influence, we're constantly jumping through hoops and being asked to do things that we have no desire to do, but we do them. Because we're influenced by one thing or another, whether it's, fame or whether it's money or whether it's this or that or attention or love or whatever. But it's like, it's all right here, always. Yeah. It's never been gone. And we just have to receive.
Yeah. You know what, as a child, because I remember when I was like 8 years old, I remember I was just so perplexed because I couldn't figure out why I was me, everybody was different and why I got to be me. I couldn't figure that out, but I knew that there was something behind it all.
Yeah.
And you're open to all these different things. And then as you grow older, I mean, good Lord, when I was in my 40s and 30s and working, I would dread getting up in the morning. I mean, that's a bad feeling. Now it's like, woohoo, 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm ready to rock.
Absolutely. I love it. And that's not to say that waking up early is any sort of thing. 'Cause there are people, I'm sure, that wake up at noon, at the crack of noon, and they're raring to go. And that's so awesome that we all have these different things. But it's like, I remember when I used to work night shift at a grocery store when I was younger. It was like, I hated my life. I hated it. I hated, and it was just so, and because I wasn't sleeping at the time that I believe now is best for me, which is like between 8 and 4, I couldn't be myself. I was under the influence of that schedule. And then I was under the influence of the food that I was eating, which wasn't healthy. And I was just doing it to, either be like everybody else or doing it because, that's all I knew. That was the only option that I had because I was raised in a place that, my parents ate healthy, quote unquote, for the 70s and 80s, you know what I mean? But that was a completely different thing that I eat now, like I can't believe it's not butter, you know what I mean? So
I had a little of that too.
Yeah, But yeah, it's amazing how when we start to trust ourselves and don't just look for answers outside, how amazing our lives and ourselves become.
It fills you up like a balloon. Sometimes I just think I'm going to burst. I am just so excited.
That's
every
so
day.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I love it.
Me too. Like I can't, like even in the challenging moments, it's like, oh wow, this is cool to go through.
Yeah. And
It is cool to have MS. Like, I have to say, like, there's these things happening in my brain, and I get to go in and have these MRIs. Like, not everybody gets to do that. Not that, and like I was talking to someone, they were like, they were saying, I don't like those. And I was just like, whatever. Like, they're easy. It's a cool experience. I get to go into this thing, this huge magnet. Like, that's kind of cool. And they're taking pictures with a magnet? Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Yeah, I just zone out when I go in there. I just completely zone out and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even remember being in there when I get out.
I know,
I go somewhere else in my head.
Like, I mean, I get to lay there and I meditate and I do all the things.
Yeah.
And then, when things start kind of like slowing down, there's that mirror that you can look down into the room and stuff.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's cool. And then I try and figure out how is that mirror set, and you try and look at it. It's just a cool thing all around, And it's like you got to sit still. So like you have to, like, you're a participant, and you're in being a participant, you have to sit still. That's part of it. It's like, no, sit still. And then you get to just breathe and because you're laying with me, it's like, I get really conscious of my swallowing, because when you swallow, I might move my head, and things like that. And it's like, but my part of this is to sit still. Yeah,
you have to be conscious of your whole body.
Yeah.
Not
That's
to
such
your
a cool
fingers,
experience.
Yeah, rock your toes, not to do any of that.
Right.
This may be none of my business, but did you decide on meds or no?
Life is easy for me, as you know. I went into my neurologist yesterday, and she said, "Oh, you got a new lesion." She showed it to me, and she was like, "So what do you think?" And I was just like, "Well, it might be progressing. My disease might be progressing. So I figure you give me some literature, and in 6 months when we meet again, we'll talk about it."
There
she was like, "Sounds good." So, I want to, and then I talked to her about the medication that I was thinking I was going to take. And she was just like, really, that's for progressive MS. You have a really light form of MS. So I can't believe that your insurance would cover that, but I can give you literature on it. And she was like, that's really strong medicine. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I didn't know. Let's talk about the oral medication. And so it's going to be, she's looking at orals. I got 4 or 5 different things I have to look up and do some research on, but I got 6 months, and she's like, look, it's not bad. You're not experiencing any symptoms. So, keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
And it's moving slowly. And so we have time, no big deal, and if anything changes, you just let me know. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to see her in August, and then we'll go from there.
Go from there. Awesome. I didn't get to come on yesterday. I didn't get to listen to you yesterday because I was still involved in family and running around and doing all that stuff.
No, I saw her last night and everything last evening, and it was me taking meds is less an issue, but me doing the desire to not take meds was my experience, right? And that's the thing I had to look at. I had to look at the idea that, I'm afraid of talking to my doctor because I have this desire. And then once I let it go and said, and that came about because if this happens to be progressing, if my disease happens to be progressing, I could end up crippled overnight. Mm-hmm. And if that were to happen, I would require the help of others.
Right.
And if I were to require the help of others and stood on my haunches to not take meds, that's not fair. Like, I'm making a decision. Right. I'm making a decision to not do everything that's at my disposal.
Right.
And because of that, I am now requiring someone else to do something for me. And because of that, if it was just that I would die, I wouldn't take meds. If it was just like, oh, you got aggressive cancer and,
right,
whatever, I wouldn't take meds. But because it's MS and I'm going to survive for a long time, but possibly require other people to change their lives to assist my decision, because if I do lose my ability to walk, I'm going to require other people, at least for a time. And if that's the case, I better be doing everything I can that's at my disposal, i.e. take meds and stuff like that. So whatever.
And once you get to that point, it's hard to reverse it, Martin John.
Right. Once I lose something, it's a roll of the dice that I'm going to get it back.
Right. Exactly. So it's better to be a little proactive and not so rigid. And right. I'm glad that you have eased up on that.
Yeah. And the moment that I saw it, I started working on it. I started looking at it, and it didn't take me but a couple days to really kind of like let it go and be like, okay. And I'm still not in a place where I'm like, I'm going to take meds in August.
Yeah, right.
But that's a decision that I'm going to have to make in August. And between now and then, I'm going to read, I'm going to do some research, I'm going to look at some options and things like that. And so, I'm not, it's really about getting past the knowing.
Right.
Getting past the idea that I know what I want, I know what I need, I know I don't want to take meds. Oh, do you now? So, and the reason that I am faced with this is because I did have that rigidity, and my life is now saying, hey, Mr. Rigid.
Yep.
Like where else can you yield? And I do believe that the more you yield, the more you get asked to yield. And that's why this is a never-ending journey. There are people who aren't going to yield at all, but once they start, it's going to slowly, and just like your life, it's going to slowly get better. And the things that challenge you are going to be lighter, going to be softer, but they are going to impact you so much more because you're going to be being asked to yield in a new way, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be, like with your ex, it's like, oh, I need to be able to yield in a new way. I need to be able to yield deeper. I need to be able to, and it's not all so, like in the beginning, it's a big hurdle and a lot of things can change. And then
I remember the hurdle.
And then it becomes increasingly subtle. But you become like exponentially more loving, exponentially more, because that big hurdle, you did a big hurdle, but only got, like in retrospect, a little out of it. Mm-hmm. It's all of the little things that you're doing now further down the line that give you all that much more energy, all that much more love, all that much more potential, all those opportunities to connect. And it's like you're actually just doing little shifts.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love it. And I don't think about what I'm doing. I just kind of hang out and do whatever comes.
Right.
So it took me a long time to figure that out, and I don't have it all down yet, Martin. Believe you me.
Yeah, but you and me both.
I got a long way to go. Yeah. But I'm.
You're down
happy.
to a minute already. We've talked so much, but I want you to come back if you have the time and pick a number.
Sure.
So,
I can come back.
Yeah. So what's so congratulations on your grandson. And is he? What's his plan? I mean, he's a goalkeeper. I'm sure he's got a collegiate path ahead of him.
Yeah, he does, and Argentina's looking at him too. So
Argentina, like clubs?
Yeah.
Or is he Argentinian?
No, he's not Argentinian, but
okay.
he's already gone down there once. They've sent him tickets to come down and play with the team, the professionals.
What squad? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's as much as I know, Martin John.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, come back up, and that's. I mean, there are a couple Argentinian teams that are pretty famous, but that's exciting. That's exciting. Like a professional soccer career, and he's a U.S. citizen, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah. So then he. Well, hopefully I see him on the U.S. squad one day. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, he's planning to go to college in the U.S., but he just has options, and that's the point. He just has options
and what
to look at.
The Olympic team, essentially. The Olympic team.
That would be cool.
Because soccer is a bigger deal than the Olympics, and so we have the Olympic. We're going to call it the Olympic soccer team, but it's the national soccer team. The actual Olympic soccer team, I think, is an under 23 team. So you can only play for the Olympic team if you're under 23, but the national team, there's no age limit.
Yeah, he's 18.
Yeah, so he would probably be on an Olympic team. He would be on the under 18 American team, or the under 19, I think it is. And so he hopefully he starts getting looked at. That's exciting. He is getting looked at. Yeah, it's really exciting. I just hope I live long enough to see what happens. And if I do. And if I don't, I'll see it anyway. Things move quickly in the sports world, especially in the soccer world, because, there's a lot of people out there. But and the United States grows a lot of really great goalkeepers because we play basketball. And so our goalkeepers are really top notch. But that's probably why Argentina's looking at them, because our children use balls and play with their hands, whereas in Argentina everybody plays with their feet. Because soccer is basketball's a little less
He learned
popular.
a lot going down there. He really learned a lot. He was there for probably 3 weeks.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Yeah. So, and he flies through the air. He goes up above the goalpost. I mean, he flies. He's amazing. So anyway, enough about him. Let me pick a number here.
Yeah, let's pick a number.
I'm going to go with 67. That's the year I graduated high school.
Oh,
that's how 67. Old I am.
Oh, well.
Or young. That's how young I am.
Yeah, that's how young you are. Yeah, that's you graduated in 67. That's beautiful. The 3 Lessons is the title. Caught in manifestation, some people say Tao is stupid. Others say it is a beautiful idea, but it cannot be achieved. They cannot see. It is neither an idea nor something to be achieved. Lost in a world of endless solutions, they cannot recognize truth. Tao asks us to live with only 3 things: compassion, moderation, and humility. With compassion, you will be able to care for all things without having to ask if they deserve it. With moderation, you will be able to be generous without them needing to prove they are worthy of it. With humility, you know you are going to die like all things. Thus, you treat all things with dignity and respect. Abandoning these will only lead to trouble.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it makes me well up. With compassion, you will be able to care for all things without having to ask if they deserve it.
I love that. That's exactly what stood out to me. I love that line.
Yeah.
You don't have to deserve it. Everybody, I love it. I love it. I love it.
I think about the journey that you've been on that I know about with your ex, where it's there was a time where you would stand up for yourself, but then there became a time where you're like,
that's ridiculous.
No. Right.
I don't
he
need to
loves
stand
me
up for myself.
Right. He loves me, and he's doing this because he's hurting.
Right.
And it's okay. Now I don't have to play into his hand, but I don't have to stand up to it. I don't have to fight against it. I don't have to offer resistance. Just let him do what he does.
And he would thrive on that.
Right. We all do, right?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna goat you, I'm looking for you to give me energy. And you do that by accepting the challenge, by accepting my argument, by arguing back, by giving me what I'm looking for, something to rail against, something to push against.
Right, right.
It's like when you just offer that compassion. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the line that said, if you keep looking for solutions, you're not going to find the truth.
Yeah, lost in a world of endless solutions, they cannot recognize truth.
It's so true. I really like this one. Woo.
Yeah.
Good
I'm going
job.
to read it again. Caught in manifestation, some people say Tao is stupid. Others say it's a beautiful idea but cannot be achieved. They can't see that it's neither an idea nor something to be achieved. Lost in a world of endless solutions, they cannot recognize truth. Like the world is going to provide you with so many solutions to problems that don't exist.
Yeah.
And because it is being marketed as a solution, because you're being told this is a solution. Like I remember a friend of mine recently said, if you're having these experiences, why aren't you talking about them? Right? Because like I'm having like you and I, we talk about this every day. And I'm not doing it in a way that I need people to hear me. I'm not going out and putting it on every social media platform. I'm doing it here, and I'm doing it quietly, and I'm going about my business. But you don't realize that there's nothing to talk about. It's truth. I don't have to prove it. I don't have to get you. This isn't my way of looking at the world is not a solution. It is just a way of looking at the world, and people can do it or they don't. And I don't. Why do I care? Like, what do I care what you do? You know. And then that's the thing. Everyone's telling you, you gotta make a solution. You gotta find a problem and solve it. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Like that creates problems because there are no problems. As the Tao says.
People that are problem solvers for a living, and God, what a horrible thing to be.
You'll never run out of problems.
No.
Never.
The manifestation will give you problems that you are unfathomable.
Right, absolutely.
So anyway, I wanted to tell you my ex, though, talking about my ex again, he has started sending me like really nice messages, not condescending.
Vinegar.
Yeah, exactly. Like yesterday, he sent me a Tai Chi video of on your back and how to do Tai Chi on your back. That's going to help your back issues. I thought, well, that was really nice.
Yeah.
So
it's I want to say just like it's cute. You know, when people start to get into this place of like loving themselves, you know, and he doesn't know that that's what he's doing right now. He's not really aware that he's loving himself more. But he's probably not aware that he believes love and, you know, he may have a love language that's, you know, like gift giving or service or whatever.
No.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine. But, you know, as we start to expand, it starts to feel uncomfortable. Loving ourselves feels uncomfortable. And we want to do for others. And we want to share. And that's like the woman who told me, why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't you telling people? And it's like, and that's the first, but it's so beautiful because, you know, you can receive it and you'd be like, oh, thank you. You know, like And he's doing this because he wants people to think about him. And that's not a bad thing. He's just like, I want people to think about me when I'm not around, like I think about you.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
And he's going through, well, because he's evolving. He's evolving.
He's working on it, seriously. He knows that he was judgmental and closed and obnoxious. He knows that, and he's really trying to figure out why and where to go. So, I just I don't try to lecture him. I just try and love him.
Receive it, love him, because he is still a part of you, right? And so he's still showing
and
you
will be
yourself.
Forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And you are mirroring him back to himself, and he's going on this journey, and it's a long journey. And he may get off and try and, like, go be a life coach and go help people do things and stuff like that. He might go try and solve problems. Right? Caught manifestation. Some people say Tao is stupid. Others say it's a beautiful idea but cannot be achieved. And they cannot see it as neither an idea nor something to be achieved. You just live your life. And lost in a world of endless solutions, he's starting to see solutions for the first time.
Yeah, he is.
He's starting to see a whole new path of solutions. And many people do this for a time at least, anchor yourself in that because it feels so good to learn things and to share your knowledge, especially as like some newfound expert. And look at what I found. This is so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cute to see them go through that. And it's just like raising a child, because you're like, oh, look at what you're learning. That's so good. And you can't judge them, and you just kind of be like, oh, like, you're experiencing this for the first time. And there's no way that his mind is going to be able to grasp that you have been down this already. You've been here. In one way or another. Of course, he still has things to teach you and share with you, and you're not being closed off to anything, hopefully, and you're just allowing yourself to be yourself. And as that happens, he is going to continue, and maybe he's going to get upset that you don't, why don't you do this for me, or whatever. It's just like, well, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Like, you have all this to say because you've never been quiet before.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. It's so great. Again, compassion, moderation, and humility.
I love it.
And those are things that you have learned that he is just being introduced to.
Humility is a hard one for him.
Oh, and my guess is that gets in the way of him being compassionate and allowing himself to work or interact in moderation.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. These are three things that when you bring them up together, they give you something that you can't measure, but is constantly filling you. Life is so amazing when you have these things that you feel like you're going to burst at every moment, and you don't have to do anything.
That's what I said when we first started talking. Sometimes I feel like a balloon that's just filling up. Yeah. I'm just so full of life. I'm having so much fun.
and you're not rubbing it in anyone's face. You're not trying to, curtail it or make other people see it or tell people they're doing the wrong thing. You're like, oh, you're doing that. Go do it. Yeah, that's fine. You're miserable doing that? Well, you want to keep doing it. Keep doing it. I'm going to go.
I'm kind of past the judgments.
That's right. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
I love you,
67. I love you. That's such a beautiful verse.
Well, I love Max too. I just want to tell Max I'm really proud of you. You've come a long way, buddy.
Yeah. I'm really proud of Max too. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave you on that, Martin John.
All right.
I
Thank
will
you
talk
so much,
to you
sweetie.
soon. Life
Sounds
is good.
good.
Life is easy. Woo-hoo!
Life is easy.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to bring Lo and then Melissa. Melissa, I hope you're going to hang out a bit because I'm looking forward to catching up. Lo!
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay, so all your fingers are good?
My fingers are very sore, but they're still attached to my body.
Okay, good. How's the weaving been going? How's the Valentine's been going?
Sucks.
Whoa! My guess is there's some expectations that are not being met.
No, it's just one of those things. Everybody does it where you start a project and you're like, this is going to be awesome. And then you're like, oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. Being an artist, like there is, when you start something, you don't have an elevated sense of what this is, right? You don't know what good is yet. And then when you finish it, you realize what you just finished was not good.
Or you look at it and you're like, I should have done this. I should have done that.
Yep.
I could have.
And this is evolution. This is what evolution gives us. You know, as we attempt new things, we look back at that which we just did, which without those errors, whatever we want to call them, we can call them errors, I suppose. Without those errors, we wouldn't have learned what better could be. We wouldn't have learned, we wouldn't have evolved our sense of style. We wouldn't have evolved our sense of now we can, the next time you do something like this, and it could be a whole
like
variety.
There'll be a next time.
and there will be, in some case. I mean, you might not weave in this way, but
I'm already planning Easter.
You have evolved your sense of creativity. You've evolved your sense of style. You've evolved your sense of accomplishment, and you are incorporating that, and that's integrating into you, which is why you're like, I'm kind of embarrassed to give this to someone. I know I've done that. I'm just like, I finished something. I'm like, this is so good. The next day I wake up and go, wow, I don't know that I ever want to tell anybody that I did this. but it's just part of the
most of it because it's going to children for the most part. But there is one thing that I'm going to do for another member of AA. It's his soberversary this week. And nice. I tell everybody, I love this man. This man is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't trust men. I don't like men. I'm always giving them the side eye, like, what is it that you want from me? And this man is just the purest, best person, to ever walk the face of the earth. He is so sweet, so nice, and he's a lot older than me too. So there's no my cousin's like, oh, you sound like you have a crush on him. And I'm like, no, but do I wish that he were my grandfather? Yes.
No.
He when my husband was in the hospital and he found out my sink was leaking, he was the only one that was like, I'm older and it's been a while, my crawling under sink days are long gone, but if you need somebody, I'll come over and I'll take a look. And I was like, no, that is so sweet. That is one of the nicest things ever, but no, it's fine. So I'm gonna make him a card, and I'm low-key embarrassed. Oh, here's my handmade card for you. I'm 5.
No, that's the thing. When he's gonna love it, and you're gonna love that you've given it to him.
Well, we'll see. If he throws a bag in my face, I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna yell at you.
Okay, absolutely. I don't care.
I know you don't
As you
care.
know. No, I think, especially people, I mean, not especially people in AA, but especially people who have evolved, especially people who have gotten over their arrested development. And we all experience arrested development, whether it's through addiction or whether it's through having kids or whether it's through just sort of like getting married sometimes and then just kind of deciding this is who I'm going to be now. We all, especially like in our 20s and early 30s, we can get set into arrested development and we can stop evolving. But someone that decides that they're going to change, and they're going to change something that's intense, right? Like addiction, or they're going to change their life in one way or another. And they have to face themselves in that. It's like, it's like Sweet Jane. Do you know that song, Sweet Jane? No. Anyone who's had a heart would never break it. You know what I mean? Anybody who's created something would never criticize. They would celebrate, It's like,
wow, he probably wouldn't love it. For Christmas, I had shirts made, and mine said, his name is Fred, and it said Fred Fan Club President. And I have to also say that the reason why I did this is because it's like a thing with him to have shirts with his name on him. And I don't mean like coveralls. Like, he has so many t-shirts that say his name on them and they're Fred. Like, his name is Fred. Like, I'm like, where do you find these? So I had some made. Like, he even has one where his name is spelled Phred, which is not how you spell his name. But
yeah.
Anyway, I had one made, and mine said Fred Fan Club President, and then I had one made for him, and it said Fred, the man, the myth, the national treasure. But I ordered his in a medium, and I didn't think about it, and it was a medium women's. Like, it did not fit him. So my sponsor ended up taking it, but he was so, like, he loved it, and he was like turning red, and he's always so like bashful, and he's literally, I'm like, everybody needs a Fred. Like, that's just, everybody just needs a Fred. He was pretty much the only one in AA too to like, I don't know what he believes spiritually because he does everything, but like, he's talked to me about this, and he found a podcast of somebody who wasn't like super religious talking about their experience when I was feeling really like ostracized, because I'm like, everybody here keeps dropping the God bomb, and it's like, it's not that I mind it because I don't, but it's like when it's so centered, like anybody who's ever been a minority in any situation, major or minor, like they know how that feels, that it's about everything, and AA says it doesn't matter and it's not a big deal, and it's just like, then why is it literally at every meeting? Like,
it's a stand-in phrase, God is a stand-in for higher power, but it's, it's very centralized. And I think that, even though and I mean, you can find groups that are outside of that, but really, if your group is in it, you have to find ways of hearing it differently.
And I do, but it just was really nice that he was somebody who like
was broader than that.
Yeah, because my sponsor took it and ran another direction with it, where she got really offended and tried to be like, what do you have against God? And it's like, I don't have anything. Like, I really like,
and do you think God needs you to defend him? Like, really?
Yeah, I'm looking at her like, And the thing is I've told her before, and I really mean this, like, I'm jealous of people who have that kind of faith, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's miraculous. I don't have it. Like,
Let's pick a number.
pick a number.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you pick a number for me? Because I don't know.
Rando 65.
Okay.
Interesting. Simple awareness is the title of this. Simple awareness. So just be aware. Just be aware. Simply. Masters aren't interested in educating people. They would rather than be yielding and kind. When people put their faith in knowledge, they lack faith in their own awareness. When they are happy to not know, they have no choice but to put their faith in themselves. When governing a country, family, or self, avoid being clever and using knowledge to guide you. People are not naturally stupid or submissive. When not leaning on knowledge, all things are guided by awareness. You know, as you talk about God and this idea of, you know, this entity or whatever, there's a thing in the Tao, which is like, the more you trust something else, the less you trust yourself. And what that really says is, when you don't trust yourself, you're not trusting God. You're not trusting Tao. You're not trusting that which you are connected to, in terms of your intuition, in terms of your mind being, you know, having access to information. You know, when you go into a meeting and everybody's talking about God, you're like, you have yourself that you can trust. Or Fred, right? Like, you're attracted. I'm not going to get that into any romantic sense, but you're attracted to what Fred says and to his energy because there is love there. It's simple. You're aware of that attraction. You're aware of something that is not, that isn't there. Like you don't have knowledge as to why, but it's like, I would love for him to be my grandfather because I just feel so good. And even when you talk about him, you get giddy.
I love him.
You know, and it's like, that connection is deeper than anything that you've been educated about. And then people are going to kind of, oh, like, you have a crush on him, you have this, you have that, and they're going to have to try and know something, right? When people put faith in knowledge, they lack faith in their own awareness. If you were to try and define your relationship with Fred, you would be exposing your lack of faith in your awareness that Fred is someone you can learn from. You're attracted to him. You're attracted to something that he can teach you. And when you are happy to not know, not define that relationship in any way other than loving him and loving the experience that you're having, you have no choice but to put faith in yourself, in the fact that you know this is right for you. And it says, when governing a country, family, or self, avoid being clever and using knowledge to guide you. You know, so many people are like, I'm doing this because why I'm doing this. They have all of the answers, and that's using knowledge to guide you. You know, but when you don't know, then you're using yourself. You're using your connection to higher power, connection to the thing that Fred is using connection to connect with, right? You're trusting yourself. You're trusting this moment to be as it is. How beautiful is that?
It was, and I actually, let me see if I can fit this in really quick. I did think about you last night at our meeting because Fred was the lead and he asked about, you know, it was something about old timers and what you've learned and everything else. And I was like, recently somebody told me that I need to listen more. And I was like, it wasn't an insult or anything. I was like, it made sense. But I was like, I think, I was like, overall, like I've learned that, and I've learned that a lesson will repeat itself until you learn it.
Yeah.
So, but I was going to share that, and the guy in front of me talked so much, and it was just so fitting, and I felt almost bad, like I was trying to be mean to him, but I honestly had it in my head to share before, to be like,
come back up and finish that. And Melissa will be with you momentarily. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Melissa, I'll hop off here. I'm tired anyway, but yeah, he is somebody, and he's new, and I'm trying to be patient with him, but like, I don't know. It's really hard for me, and I think you probably know this. When people say don't use knowledge, that's really difficult for me. That was a hard pill to swallow, because I'm like, but science. But then like I started reading through a lot of like scientific quotes, and even people like Neil Tyson deGrasse, who's science and like obviously very smart, talks about there being unknowns, and there are unknowns in this world, and who's to say what's out there. So that's what helped me give it up. But anyway, so this, I have been trying really hard to be more patient, but it's like, even when somebody says something in AA and it doesn't speak to me, I can almost always see where they were going with it, where it could speak to somebody. And this guy, he just consistently like shares stories that aren't his, and they go on forever, and they're just like, so anyway, long story short, speaking of going on forever, but he was sitting next to me, and he shared right before it was my turn. And even before he started sharing, like, I knew in my head I was going to talk about what we talked about last time we talked about, or maybe that, whatever, the water and listening, and,
Yeah.
And essentially what I got from that is that I need to be quiet and I need to listen more. And he went off on this tangent, and I swear it was so long. Like, I'm looking around the room to think, to try to gauge, like, is it me? Am I being impatient? And like, nobody will look at me, because everybody, I think, is thinking the same thing. Like, my sponsor, I talked to her after the meeting. She's like, yeah, I left the room and came back, and he was still talking.
Yeah,
I felt a little bad, because my share essentially was like, well, I've learned to, listen more and be quiet. Like, it was not planned. Like,
it's a challenge, especially because you got 8+ months now, and he might not have a week. I don't know, but like, that's sort of a thing where he's in a different place. And that's what old timers really bring to the table. They bring this humility, like we were talking with Susan, that idea of humility, the idea of compassion, and being able to be in that space where it's like, you're just like, all right, he is doing his thing. It's like, well, and you don't have, like, it would be rude to just stand up and walk away while he's talking. But even if that was what you were compelled to do, it's not like, no, that's just etiquette.
I was kind of waiting, because he had gone off before so long that somebody had to say something, and it was really awkward.
Right.
So I was kind of looking around, and I was trying to gauge, like, am I being impatient? And I will say this, I felt a lot better when Rachel was like, yeah, Fred mentioned, like, I was really patient with him. Like, and I'm like, okay, even if Fred thought he talked a lot, then he did talk a lot. Like,
right.
But yeah, so I thought about you last night during the meeting.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I'll have to try to catch up.
We all like to be thought about. So it's nice.
Yeah, during my AA meeting.
It's very fitting. Very fitting.
All right,
All
go
right.
talk to Melissa, and I'm
Will
going
do.
to bed.
All right. You get some sleep.
Hi, Melissa.
Bye-bye. Oh, it's so good to connect with my peeps. Melissa, are you still with me? It's going to give me the uh-oh. I don't know if you dropped out or if it kicked you out. So I'm going to give you a couple more moments. There you are again.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are
Hey,
you in the school?
yeah, I'm at school. We're actually we have a 3-hour early dismissal today because there is supposedly some inclement weather coming our way. So I'm
Oh.
trying to figure out like where I'm going to go and when I'm going to go there because all the times have changed, and so I'm sitting here. That's what I was working on while you were talking to Lo, and but I really liked your discussion that you and Susan had. And I wrote down the one quote. It said, "Lost in a world of endless solutions, they cannot see the truth." And it resonated with me because I've been trying to help my nephew who is in active alcoholism at the moment, and he's got a lot of shiitake mushrooms flying around. And when you're in the
Wait.
grips of
Shiitake mushrooms.
not real mushrooms. I'm trying not to say the bad word. Just take the first 4 letters of the shiitake mushrooms there.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Like I was like, because I know mushrooms
you were
are
visualizing
like
the real mushrooms, right? Like what the hell
I'm
is
like,
he
hold
talking
on.
about?
Like
Sorry.
I'm growing shiitake mushrooms. If he wants, I can get him some.
Oh,
It's like, I
that's
don't know.
hilarious.
Okay. He's got a lot of stuff floating around.
But it's interesting because I think that the events that have happened in my life is unfortunate as they may have seemed at the time were lessons, because I've been able to use some of the things that have happened to talk to him about his situation. And so I don't know if it's resonating with him, but it's freaking powerful to me, dude. And I'm like, oh, is that why that happened? Because, things happen to teach us a lesson. And, man, that was the lesson. That's why that happened. Oh, even though I may still not have liked it, there's some things that happen that I'm really not pleased about, but at least I'm seeing that there was a purpose for these damn things to have taken place.
And I know this is why, you have faith in God.
Yep.
And you realize that you need to sit down and take these lessons as they are. And we have to constantly remind ourselves, we're not doing this. You are in a position right now that you could not have been in at any other moment. You are in a position of inspiring somebody, or even just laying the groundwork for them to become inspired at some point. But what you're doing is living your life. This is why it says in the Tao, life is a gift received from Tao, and everything is sustained in support of that gift. Your nephew's alcoholism is being sustained in support of the gift of your life. Your lessons are being sustained, and your life is being sustained in support of the gift of his life. And they magically come together in a way that you could never predict. You could never know. You could have never built. But God can.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in addition to being his aunt, I'm also his godmother. So I'm like, ha, God, you're a funny guy, aren't you?
That's right. And I love doing that. I love looking up at the heavens and being like, man, you,
Yeah.
because it's like that's the personal relationship. You know what I mean? That's the thing that when you have it, when you are connected to Tao, when you are connected and you trust yourself, and it's not like you trust yourself, you trust the connection and that self that is more than Melissa. And you trust that path that you're on. And you don't know how you got here. And you don't know what, like I asked myself for years, when did I become this? When did I become this person? When did I change paths to lay the groundwork to become this person? And it was just, I was born with it. It was just I was never on a path to be anything else. I just didn't see it.
Right.
And now I look at it and it all makes sense. And then the things that I'm going through that don't make sense, I go, it makes sense someday.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty unfathomable. I can't get that word out.
That's okay. It's unfathomable.
My mouth doesn't want to say yes. It's hard to fathom. I'm going to say it that way.
Do you have a number?
No, but you can do a random one for me if you don't mind.
I can. Number 46, knowing when to stop.
Oh, Lord.
I love it. I love it when we get together and we chuckle over titles. Knowing when to stop. When Tao is followed, shelter, food, and water are prioritized. Going counter to Tao, war, excess, and hoarding are praised. He who believes there isn't enough is cursed to never have enough. He who believes he must acquire will acquire nothing that lasts. There's no greater waste of time or energy than being discontent. Therefore, the master knows what is enough and is content to stop there. Did you hear all that, or did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I really like, sorry, I'm going to put my earbuds in here, but I really like the line about, never enough. He who
believes that there isn't enough is cursed to never have enough.
Yeah.
And and those are the people that so often go out and try and take more and more and more and more and more, and they never have enough.
Now that makes me think even more of my nephew that I was telling you about, because yeah, that's what, and I'm not even sure that the words that I'm saying are sinking in right now, and it's not going to stop me from trying, because
no.
persistent, as you have probably figured out, so even if it's not soaking in, hopefully some of it's getting in somehow, and I just gotta trust, because I don't know what else to do.
I want to kind of go back to the first line of this. When Tao is followed, shelter, food, and water are prioritized. Going counter to Tao, war, excess, and hoarding are praised. And just in terms of caring for your nephew, or doing whatever, like being there for your nephew, talking to your nephew, like it's the simple things. It's the needs. It's the food, shelter, water, and that can come as words, making him understand that he is being cared for. His needs are being met. Now, war, whether it's a war in words between people, so if there's judgment and other things like that, my guess is that's not happening. My hope is that's not happening. But, that could be war. But there's also war happening within his body.
Oh, yeah.
And there's excess happening within his body. And there's hoarding, right? Hoarding comes with the lies, right? He's holding back. He's not telling the truth. If he's an addict, I know what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You do.
So hoarding, the war is on his end, and you're prioritizing the needs, right? The needs, the food, the water, the shelter. And so you follow Tao, and you will be supported. And he will eventually see or be witness to that support, hopefully before it's too late.
Yeah, that is my hope. That is my sincere desire, because we're never promised tomorrow, and I just hope that, because he unfortunately has almost killed himself once. He had to be taken to the hospital, and the doctor said he didn't know how he was still alive. So, he said to me this morning that I'm the only one in the family that's still talking to him, and I said, I'm never going to give up on you, sweetheart. And I'm just going to remember he's being held, and I have to go because the bell's getting ready to ring. But I love you, and I thank you.
I love you. Absolutely. You're doing such a good job. It all for everybody that's out there. It's hard to love somebody, especially when they're hurting themselves, and when they don't love themselves. But you loving yourself is an invitation to them to love themselves, because when you love yourself, you won't judge them. But that's a complicated pattern. You have to have faith, and you have to in yourself. You have to have faith in how we grow and how we see and how we witness the world. Mabel, how are you doing today?
Hi, Martin Chan. Good morning.
Hi, it's been so long. How are you?
No, I'm doing great. I just opened my eyes.
Oh, well, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing beautifully. It's been a really nice morning. We're talking about some Tao, and everybody's doing things in the world and inspiring others, and it's such a beautiful place to be.
Yes, I hear the last guest, Miss Teacher Brent, sending her a hug.
Yeah, we all need, I'm really glad that I have the experiences that I have had with addiction. But it's hard. It's hard to especially if all you're seeing is somebody withering away. It's difficult. So what's going on with you these days? We're gonna move on from that.
I'm doing great. I'm just be Mabel. I'm just be mom. I just enjoy simple things in my life every day, and working, and doing some stuff, and being being supportive here and there. And yeah, I just want to say hi to you. It's been, I think, last year. The last time I jumped in your live is last year. I think December or November.
Oh, I don't remember things. I'm really glad to see you. I love that you're out there doing the thing. I've heard you speaking with some other people every now and again, and you're always so upbeat and positive.
Yes. I'm always excited and always happy, and I'm here always learning things, and I just want to apply for myself.
Yeah. What you have a number for me today?
Oh, for my number, well, just pick me one for, please.
Yeah. Number 40.
Wow. Woo, 40. Okay.
It is a short number, I think it's one of the shortest ones of the Tao. And this is one that I feel like it's one that we want to sit with for a long time, because it doesn't say much, but it says a lot, I think. Let's read it. Tao is always returning. It is also always yielding. In the manifestation, all things are born into existence, yet surrender and are renewed every moment within Tao.
That is deep, huh? That is deep, right, John?
So it starts by telling us about Tao. Tao is always returning. It is also always yielding. So what that means is Tao comes in cycles. Right? So Tao is always returning. It is also always yielding, meaning that if you want to stop a cycle, you can, because Tao will yield to your action. Tao isn't going to try and force you to follow it. So as you go into the cycle of your life, you will see things happen in cycles. And if you don't do anything about it, you can continue to have that cycle happen. But the moment you decide to bring awareness in and change that cycle, Tao yields and says, oh, you want a new cycle? Go right ahead. Now I start returning. Tao starts returning in our life in a new way because it yielded the old way.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
Then
I love that.
the line next is, in the manifestation, that means in life, in the physical form, all things are born into existence. So you're born into existence, your kids are born into existence, but also your experiences are born into existence, and your ideas are born into existence, and your perceptions of the world are born into existence. So if you built a perception as a kid that life was hard, Tao would allow you to have that cycle. It's always returning. Remember, so life is hard, life is hard, life is hard, life is hard, until you became aware that, no, maybe life isn't so hard. So Tao yields, and then you start getting hints that, oh wait, life isn't that hard. And then it returns, and then you have another opportunity to say, is life hard or is it easy? And then you decide life is hard. Okay, then it returns, and you have another opportunity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I totally agree with you, because we only human. Sometimes we think go back, and then
Right?
like you said, if you're aware, you will stop and, hey, excuse me, this is not what I need. This is not this. I got it. Yes, I love that.
So Tao is always returning. So it's always giving you that opportunity, and then it's also always yielding. So it's going to yield to your decision to some extent, right? To the way you want to see it. And in the manifestation, all things are born into existence, yet surrender and are renewed every moment within Tao. So you can surrender this to Tao, and you can renew through Tao. And so you can, this is ultimately iteration. This is like, in my life, I will iterate little by little by little by little, and over time, and it might only take a week, I can be a whole new person.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, I got it. I love this reading. This reading is always reminder. It always reminded me, like, every time, like me, every time I, like, the cycle thing, it's go, like what you said, it's always come back, and I always, because I'm more aware now in my age right now, so it's always like I always have an option. My option is the option that I always choose is the way who give me who give me positive, not only for myself and for whoever around me. I love this, Martin John. I
Oh,
love
I'm
it.
so glad. I'm so
Thank
glad.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to start signing out, but I really appreciate you coming up and sharing with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm going to sign out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Martin John, and this was Tao of the Day. What a beautiful day. We just kind of went through so many beautiful verses and chatted with all my peeps, Max and Susan, Lo, Melissa, and Mabel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.